Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Jamie Samuel reporting, and welcome to episode 1 of my 2022 FIFA World Cup podcast, bringing you the latest updates on the 2022 FIFA World Cup. I am lucky enough to be joined by my good mate Sam Savvas for tonight's episode. Sam, how are you doing this evening? And thanks so much for being a part of my World Cup podcast.
I'm doing well, thanks, mate, and I really appreciate you having me back on board for your podcast. I really look forward to the upcoming 2022 FIFA World Cup.
Excellent. Are you excited by what football action we have ahead over the next month?
Oh, it's going to be exciting as a lot of action-packed games coming up, It's going to be really exciting, honestly. I'd love to see a few teams do better than previous World Cups. Well, in particular Australia, but anything can happen.
Absolutely. What, in your honest opinion, do you think about a World Cup being hosted in such a location as Qatar in the Middle East?
Man, it's going to be really hot and humid over there. That, to me, I feel like that's a bit odd. But then again, knowing that the World Cup is back somewhere with crowds too, compared to all the events that was cancelled in 2020, I think it's just great. But again, I would have preferred the World Cup somewhere a little bit different, like maybe somewhere else in Europe, in my opinion. But knowing that, beers are not allowed to be drank during the whole World Cup is a complete disgrace in Qatar. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't like that the World Cup's in Qatar this year.
Yeah, seems reasonable. Over the last day, we saw Ecuador spoil Qatar's World Cup debut with a 2-0 victory. It was all settled in the first half with 2 goals from Valencia. Having his second-minute goal disallowed for offside, he converted a 16th-minute penalty before heading home a brace on the half-hour mark. Ecuador had a few chances to add to their lead, but Qatar held firm, although Ecuador always looked the most likely winner. It was a strong Ecuador side who came out on top, with an impressive performance from the midfield and defence helping keep Qatar at bay. Although Ecuador was unable to score again after the break, they did manage to control the game all the way and come away with their first victory of this year's World Cup. Ecuador will look forward to a huge test against the Netherlands on Saturday, whilst Qatar will look for a better performance against Senegal. Sam, what did you make of Qatar's first World Cup match appearance?
I mean, no, I didn't even know they'd never been in the World Cup before, but I think it was pretty impressive considering they didn't concede more than 2 goals in the end. What could have been 3-0 wasn't 3-0, thankfully for them, but it's a bit of a rough start for Qatar. Hopefully they can bounce back against their next opponent.
How do you feel Ecuador will feature against the Netherlands?
Look, Netherlands are a really good side, and I feel like the Netherlands are going to be a little bit too strong for Ecuador, sorry.
Yeah, fair enough. I might agree with you there. And what did you make of Valencia's performance this morning?
Great goals from him. I thought he would have had the hat-trick if that VAR goal was... decision was changed to being a goal, but unfortunately these things can't always happen, and VAR can ruin the game at times, but that's why VAR sucks in my opinion.
Fair enough. I mean, it's in a lot of sports and not everyone does agree with it, unfortunately.
Couldn't agree more.
In other news, some upcoming exciting matches include: we will get our first look at England in this year's World Cup when they take on Iran at the Qafala Stadium. England made it to the Euro 2020 final, losing to Italy on penalties, as the Italians denied them their first major trophy since 1966. England will be hoping they can emulate that performance and maybe do one better at this year's World Cup. They also had a shock exit at the semi-final stage to Croatia in the Russia 2018 World Cup. England will be eager to prove their doubters wrong this time and show they can compete with the best in the world. England coach Gareth Southgate has picked a mix of young and experienced players that he hopes can put England back on the map, such as Harry Kane, Jack Grealish and Raheem Sterling. Their opponents in Iran have never made it past the group stages before, and this is their 6th appearance at the FIFA World Cup, including the last 3 consecutively. Despite the tough test to start with, they will also have the USA and Wales to compete with in order to make an historic last 16 appearance. Sam, give us your prediction for this match.
I reckon I'd love to say it'd be a close game between two good nations in Iraq and England, but Iran. But I feel like England are a little bit too strong there. Honestly, with their backline led by Harry Maguire, I reckon England win 2-1.
Yeah, seems a reasonable prediction. Who are the players that could impress the most?
If we're talking for England, Harry Kane will be lethal. He's dominating in the Premier League at the moment. I feel like he can dominate again during the World Cup. I'd love to see Marcus Rashford step up a bit. Same for Raheem Sterling, and Harry Maguire needs to step up a lot. Jack Grealish hasn't played much for Manchester City lately since he signed that 6-year deal. But hopefully these boys can step up and get some wins for England because they haven't been playing too well lately, leading up to the World Cup.
Fair enough. Speaking of England, can you tell me a little bit about your expectations from them at this year's World Cup?
For my expectations, considering they've got the USA and Wales as well, they should win all 3 games in their group stage, or at least 2 of them, and maybe one of them being a draw. And I reckon that England will make the final 8. But if they go all the way, that'll be pretty good. But in my honest opinion, I don't see them making further than the final 8 teams.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I'd very much like to see them compete to go all the way, maybe even make a final appearance. That would be really good for football, I reckon.
For sure.
We will also be getting our first look at the Netherlands at this year's World Cup. When they take on Senegal at the Al Tharma Stadium, the Dutch returning to their first World Cup since 2014 after their shock failure to qualify for the Euros of 2016 and the Russia FIFA World Cup of 2018. After their disappointing elimination from Euro 2020 at only the round of 16, the Dutch are hoping to still do better this year. They can achieve an historic World Cup title, they're hoping. Netherlands last won a major title in 1988 with their Euro Cup triumph, and the Netherlands will be hoping to replicate this form. The Netherlands go into this match as favourites, but Senegal is not an easy opponent for them. The Lions of Teranga were impressive at the Africa Cup of Nations, and with their powerful attacking play, they can prove a real danger for their opponents. Sam, who wins this game for you and why?
Should be another close one, but I think Netherlands just a little too strong, unfortunately. They're knowing that their opponents have lost Sadio and Mane due to injury, which is a big loss. I'm going to say Netherlands win 4-1.
Fair enough. And what are you expecting of Holland at this year's World Cup?
I reckon they should try and win most of their games against same with England. Fight hard to make the finals, but if their only way they're going to be able to do that is they got to beat the big South American giants like Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, just to name a few of the big teams. If they can somehow beat England as well, look, it's going to be very close, but I see Netherlands final 4.
Yeah, in my predictions, I had them going all the way this time. I really hope that prediction can be right, because they need it as a football nation, and to see them back on the World Cup stage is awesome. They missed out in the last World Cup. It never quite feels right when a big nation such as the Netherlands or Italy, for example, misses out. So to see them go all the way would be really impressive and really the fairy tale story for them.
Absolutely.
The USA and Wales will meet tonight at the Ahmad bin Ali Stadium, as we see these sides out for their first outing of the 2022 World Cup. USA, who have recently been crowned CONCACAF champions, will be looking to make an impression and start their World Cup campaign with a win. Wales, on the other hand, have been impressive so far in the qualifiers, coming out on top of their group, as they qualified for their first World Cup since 1958, reaching the round of 16 at Euro 2020, as well before this World Cup. This is sure to be an exciting match as USA look to build on their recent success, whilst Gareth Bale and Wales will look forward to seeing if they can impress on the world stage. Sam, what did you make of Wales' impressive qualifying run to reach a first World Cup since '58?
I mean, that is impressive, to be honest, and I'm really glad to see different team make the World Cup this year. So I really hope Wales do well this year, but at the same time, I do not believe they'll get past the group stage.
That's fair enough. So who wins this game for you and why?
I reckon it'll be a draw. I'm going to say USA 1-1 against Wales. And my prediction will be Christian Pulisic to score for USA, and Gareth Bale for Wales.
Fair enough, reasonable prediction. We will be getting our first look at Argentina at this year's World Cup when they take on Saudi Arabia tomorrow night. Argentina, led by Lionel Messi, are a favourite to make it to the finals and will be looking to start on the right foot against Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia have never gone beyond the group stage of the World Cup, but with their strong team, they could surprise Argentina tomorrow night. Argentina are aiming for their first title since 1978 this year. They had a disappointing exit at the round of 16 in Russia in 2018. Sam, what can we expect of Argentina at this year's World Cup?
With Argentina, I reckon they're one of the favourites. Not just because of Lionel Messi, but they've got a good group of players who are both youth and experience within their lineup, honestly. And they've got other players they can rely on, like Angel Di Maria back to his best. Would be amazing to see. I'd love to see young gun, the butcher they call Lisandro Martinez, for Manchester United, dominate for Argentina as one of the best centre-backs in the World Cup. So if those guys can step up and they can play with really good chemistry, I see Argentina going all the way.
Fair enough. What's your prediction for the final score of this match?
Look, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, people will be like, oh, this is going to be a real last one. But Saudi Arabia are actually not that bad in the soccer, so I'm going to say 2-0.
Fair enough, reasonable prediction. And that concludes episode 1 of my 2022 FIFA World Cup podcast. Sam, thanks so much for your time this evening, and looking forward to having you join me throughout the tournament again, just as you did in the Euros in 2020.
Thanks for having me again. It's been my pleasure to help you out during the Euro 2020 comp, and I look forward to continuing to be part of your amazing FIFA 2022 World Cup podcast throughout the tournament. I look forward to all the action tomorrow, and I'll be very excited to see all the results. And I'll be really shocked if there's any shocking results. Like, if, let's say, all the big favourites lose to the underdogs, that would be a huge surprise.
Absolutely, it would. Remember, if you are keen to be a guest on this podcast, you can reach me on my email in the video description or via the LinkedIn profile in the description. I very much welcome guests on my podcast throughout this World Cup and open to all ideas. I look forward to bringing you more action in the next 24 hours.